Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and you know that most of us who care about black people, which I assume is everybody who's watching this interview, we care about our girls. We want them to grow up happy and healthy and have high self-esteem, and so I wanted to get a chance to talk to a fellow scholar, Dr. Kimberly Brown, down at Alabama State University, and she has some solutions for strengthening the self-esteem of our girls. And first, I want to ask Dr. Brown, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing really well, really well. Now, you have a lot to say on this issue. First of all, I need people to know how extraordinary you are. Number one, you are a historian with a PhD, so you know a whole lot of stuff about a whole lot of stuff. Number two, you are an extraordinary black woman in many walks of life. You were formerly Miss FAMU, as well as Miss Black Alabama, which right there pretty much means you've accomplished 10 times more than I'll ever achieve in my
Oh,
life.
goodness.
So that's impressive. And so you got the beauty and the brains and all the spiritual brawn that it takes to be a successful person. So it sounds like you are perfect to talk about what it takes to raise a young girl to have high self-esteem, or to push our young girls to be the best they can be. And you recently wrote a book called Queen Like Me. Now, tell me about that book, and why did you write it?
Queen Like Me explores the dynamic stories of about 15 women in our history that have contributed major achievements in the world, particularly in the realm of politics and culture and nation building and art. So we run the gamut from Queen Nefertari, to more modern civil rights figures like Coretta Scott King and, of course, Rosa Parks. We even get into a little bit of Assata Shakur. And then finally, the book is written in rhyme form, so children really, really get a kick out of that. And the last rhyme deals with yourself. And so the book is really meant to explore and use history education as a tool to build self-esteem and, of course, enhance any opportunities for development.
Interesting. So this book, what's the age range for this book in terms of target audience and who
We're
it
looking
applies
at
by?
5 through 12. We're looking at 5 through 12. One of my favorite quotes comes from the great abolitionist Frederick Douglass, who says, "It is easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men." And so, today we have a lot of organizations that deal specifically with celebrating black women. So you have Black Girls Rock. There's another group, Pretty Brown Girls. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but I think these organizations, and particularly conversations around Lupita Nyong'o, the young lady from the movie 12 Years a Slave, I think it underscores this desire for black women to be included in the beauty conversation. And so the goal of Queen Like Me is to have our children understand at an early age that we've always been, number one, beautiful, but number two, beauty is sort of the composite of a package. And so there are many things that contribute to the definition of what beauty should be. And so these great women leaders that we explore in the book really sort of detail that and exemplify that in the way that they live their lives and the contributions that they left for all of us to not only admire, but really sort of to try to replicate some of those things in our own lives.
So, as a black woman who advocates for black women, which I think is so important, Dr. Monique Morris, another person that works with young girls, adolescent girls, and Noma Langum Mushali Moses, you three definitely stand out in my mind as three very educated women who are really just on the front lines in this issue. And it's I don't know if it's ironic or not that you three happen to be college professors. And I'm curious. How do black women feel? Well, I know you can't speak for all black women. Sorry. How do you feel about what's kind of happened with hip hop and the way black women are portrayed in music?
Well, as soon as you ask me that question, I immediately go to probably the most popular song on radio right now, which is "These Hoes Ain't Loyal," right? And so when you talk about those kinds of lyrics, I think I think the most dangerous part of hip hop is that we consume it not really being aware of its ability to poison. And so we live in a culture where kids who look like us, are not only condoning rape, but replicating poses of rape and making fun of young women who have been the victims of sexual assault. And I know, some people may say, well, a rap lyric versus that kind of activity are two different things. But I argue that they indeed are not, because subconsciously you can't make me believe that when those kinds of lyrics are so pervasive that our young men, in fact, are not affected and in some way really sort of desensitized to what sexual assault means. So if you're constantly reminded these hoes ain't loyal, then that's a sort of very negative psyche that's becoming habit in the minds of not only our young black boys, but of course young girls as well. So we all sort of become co-signers in our own oppressive psyche. So I think there's a lot of work to do in hip hop, but I also think that hip hop can sort of be the answer to its own problems, because hip hop is powerful. I think it's probably one of the most commonly consumed products, if you will, that our children look to and repeat, and I think it can be used in either vein.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You know me well enough to know what I think about hip-hop's relationship with black women and why it's disgustingly problematic. But let me ask you this. What would you say to somebody who says, like the hundreds of people who've said this to me, that, when Chris Brown says these hoes ain't loyal, he's not talking about all black women. He's talking about the hoes. Hoes ain't loyal. But Dr. Kimberly Brown, she's not a hoe. Right. So why should she be offended about what Chris Brown has to say about the hoes? I'm really asking that question, not even to be a devil's advocate, because I don't believe it, but I'd love to hear your response to a statement like that.
Because psychologically it impacts all of us, so we have to be concerned. I think we really have to get past the point of finger pointing. So it's the artist's fault, it's the parents' fault, it's the school's fault. No, everybody has to take responsibility if we are truly concerned about making progress, particularly concerning our youth. And so I know that you're very well aware of what has happened in Missouri over the weekend with the young man Mike Brown, who was supposed to start college tomorrow. May he rest in peace. But I plan on posting some statements on my social media that really tell people, do not post in sympathy or concern for Mike Brown if we are not willing to take the necessary steps to remove certain things from our culture. That and I am not suggesting at all that anybody else is at fault for Mike Brown's murder other than the policeman that pulled the trigger. But what I am saying is, until we get concerned truly about educating our youth, until we get concerned about giving a young black male a hug, until we get concerned about where we place our money, then don't be digitally sympathetic, to his death. There is no solution. There is no, well, it's the music, it's the schools. No, everybody is responsible. And not only is everybody responsible, but the solution does not come in a click of a button. It doesn't come in one action. It doesn't come in one step. It comes in how we live our lives. And so perhaps when we suffer injustices like this young man's death, we could have a system in place to deal with that. Perhaps we could have reliable politicians if we practice group economics, and we could use that economy to influence politicians to work on our behalf. But until that happens, until we get in a daily habit of doing things that work in our best interest, then situations like Mike Brown are going to continue to happen, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it because we don't have a system. We don't have a go-to place where those kinds of issues can be solved other than getting a t-shirt and getting in a march. So your question was about the line, these hoes ain't loyal. He's not talking to everybody, but no, he is, because when you go into a club or you go into a car, I hear it, you hear it. So that means everybody then experiences, and we know, not to get too deep here, but we know the power of music psychologically and what it does. And we know that you teach children through repetition. And so if it is constantly repeated, these hoes ain't loyal, these hoes ain't loyal, these hoes ain't loyal, then of course we are all then impacted by, one, a negative thought, and two, a thought that really sort of suggests distrust, which is something that Black people deal with already, lack of loyalty. And so it's not something, my position is, if it is not edifying to the progress of Black people, then we need to cut it out. And you can't argue to me that these hoes ain't loyal adds to our overall well-being.
Well,
you can't serve two masters.
well, I love it. I agree with you 100%. And before we cap off, and I don't want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you and stuff like that, but I want to give you a chance to clear up just how great Alabama State University is. We've seen the school in the media for other reasons, in mainstream media, but you're right there in the trenches. You grew up. You have a deep connection to that school, from what I understand, and you have some really good things to say about it. I mean, every time we talk, you always say incredibly positive things about the school. About your president, etc. Can you please tell us just how wonderful that your school is? I mean, you said it to me, but I want everybody else to hear it.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's a matter of clearing up necessarily, because I think ASU's record speaks for itself. When you talk about the number of Black teachers in the state of Alabama, many of them graduated from either Alabama A&M or Alabama State University. So literally, there is no Black middle class, particularly as it relates to educators, without ASU. And that's in our history as well as in our present. We have a great program in nanobiotechnology this summer. ASU was extremely supportive in the release of my book, Queen Like Me, and we provided free books to kids in the community, no cost to the families. Not only did we provide books, but we also provided them with a banquet and a chance to get their book signed by Miss America, Erica Dunlap, and have their photos taken with her, and every little girl at the event got a tiara. Someone that I grew up with, Travaris Jackson, who's sort of a hometown hero to us, is an NFLer, and he just held a camp for boys at ASU, again, free of cost. And I guess the last thing I'll mention, because I could go on, is our theater department just held a program, Gifted, where individuals with handicaps were able to perform on stage, and it was just a transformational experience. Awesome. It was therapeutic, I think, for them, for the audience, and for the community. And I'll just say that HBCUs were born into struggle financially and otherwise, and I think if you look under the hood of, any major university's car, you'll find similar issues. But for whatever reason, in the state of Alabama, the media has decided to place a chokehold on ASU. But I'm here to tell you, as somebody who works there daily, it's beautiful. It's a great experience, and the educators and teachers are doing what we always do, which is be great. So it's a little disheartening to have a great day on campus, and then you come home and there's some crazy news stories that has nothing to do with the wonderful things that have just transpired in the classroom. But that's the nature of media, and that's the reason why it's important for us to tell our own stories, which is why I'm extremely appreciative of you, because you give us a platform to share and communicate, and got to tell our own stories.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and I agree with you 100%. The more I've worked in media, the more I see just how media can really distort a reality. One example that comes to mind is I think about this war between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and I remember when I was in Europe, and I remember seeing. It was in '06 when they had one of their other wars, with the Israelis were bombing them like crazy, and every single day in the media I saw what was kind of happening, the children being killed, the hospitals being blown up, stuff like the same stuff you're seeing now. And when I came back to the U.S., my American friends hadn't seen any of this. CNN hadn't shown anything, and I just said, "Wow, this is unbelievable." So the media does lie to you, and so that's another reason why I love the internet and I love doing this kind of thing, because it gives me a chance to help introduce people to people like you. Because as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Kimberly Brown should be on TV every single day.
Free.
Exactly. We don't need, I mean, God bless the Nicki Minaj's of the world and all that stuff, but we need to put you ahead of the line, in my opinion. That's just my opinion now. No disrespect to Nicki, but anyway, but just brothers watching, you got to know a queen when you see one. It's not Nicki. It's women like Dr. Brown. So before we run out of here, I want to make a couple recommendations to people. Number one, go support what Dr. Brown is doing. Her website is queenlikeme.com. The book is called Queen Like Me. It won't cost you much, but it will give you a lifetime of benefits in terms of how you can transform the life of some young lady with this. We know how important strong black women are to our community. Not just strong black women, but complete, healthy, whole black women are. And so this book is an important part of that process. Then the second thing I want you to do is, if you really want to get your feet, jump in it with both feet, go give some money to Alabama State University. I didn't go to an HBCU. I couldn't afford to go. My grades were horrible. They wouldn't let me in. But I adopted an HBCU. I adopted Clark Atlanta University, and I give money to Clark as if I was an alumni. I don't give it to my alma mater because they don't need it. They have black athletes that are making millions of dollars for them. But Clark Atlanta, that's where I send my money. So make a donation. Let's support our institutions. If we don't support them, nobody else will. That's an extremely important part of our existence and survival as a people. So, Dr. Brown, I would say I'll give you the last word. I guess I should give you the last word because I actually took the last word. But is there anything else you'd like to share before we go?
I'd just like to share that I'm super, super excited. QueenLikeMe.com will launch on September the 1st, and we're giving little girls the opportunity to be featured on our website once a month. And it'll also provide additional educational resources for parents and teachers. And on September 14th, which is the same day that Miss America airs on TV, and of course, oftentimes we don't always see images of ourselves on those kinds of platforms, but I, along with a local business, Cupcakes by Tish, we are hosting Queens and Cupcakes, a day of fun at our shop, and girls can come and we'll do some storytelling and some tiara decorating, and most importantly, some educating. So on September 1st, look out for queenlikeme.com. Queen Like Me is already available on Amazon. So I just like folks to really get behind this. A lot of times we talk about what our kids consume in terms of images, but we don't often provide them with a positive alternative. So here's one. And I'd love to get some feedback from parents and mentors.
All right. Well, everybody, this is Dr. Kimberly Brown. She's a history professor at Alabama State University. She's former Miss FAMU, former Miss Black Alabama, and just an all-around high achiever. And so, like I said, you got to look her up. She's really good. Plus, she's written some articles with us, and they've been very, very good. Well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Thank you for checking us out. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.